just heard a snippet from our first review this week, Prince, Purple Rain. Just to remind you, on Pitchfork Reviews things, they review them on a 0 to 10 scale, somewhere on 8.2 or 8.3. They give it a BNM if it's a new release, or a BNR if it's a reissue of an old album, anthology, greatest hits, something like that. So, Darin, what do we got first?
Right. Prince and the Revolution. Purple Rain Deluxe Expanded Edition, which was reissued by Warner Brothers, and on Monday got a perfect 10 BNR in a review by Brad Nelson. A little bit of background on this huge album. Prince was notoriously protective over his music and very resistant to remasters and deluxe reissues of his albums. One might actually assume that we are only getting this new deluxe remaster of Purple Rain because of Prince's death, but in fact, Prince himself oversaw this entire project shortly before his death. He had struck a deal with Warner Brothers, right, and got like the rights back to his music, which was
they'll give him the rights back if he reissues them and gives them all the money he's been robbing from them all this time.
Naturally, the entire music world is thrilled to hear this 1984 classic in new and improved form, but equally exciting are the 2 discs of bonus material. One collects all of his singles from the era, but the other is all previously unreleased material from the legendary Prince vaults. We want to handle this special record a little differently than usual by breaking it down track by track and saving a little time to discuss that bonus material. We're guessing background information is pretty unnecessary here, but just in case, here is the short version. Purple Rain is Prince's 6th studio album, actually the first to feature his backing band, The Revolution, and the soundtrack to an iconic 1984 film of the same name, which of course starred Prince in his very first acting role. Together with the film, this phenomenally successful album took Prince from semi-obscurity to true superstardom overnight. Before Purple Rain, Prince was seen as a little more than a extra funky urban novelty act, to quote Pitchfork's review. But after, he was challenging Michael Jackson and Madonna for king/queen of pop status. Honestly, we could have just given him both. And his reputation as one of the boldest innovators in music and pop culture in general has remained indisputable. So before we get into the tracks, what is your history with this album, Purple Rain?
Obviously, this is a huge one, and we talked Prince a bit when he passed away,
right after he died.
That was a year ago. So obviously, familiar with Purple Rain. Love Prince, love the album. What about you, Gabe?
Yeah, this was like a big one for me personally. I mean, I went through this thing. It was a long thing where I was like very resistant to 80s music, especially like 80s pop. I was irrationally angry, and I guess I still kind of am, about like the poor sound quality of everything released in the 80s, which is part of why this remaster is so exciting to me. But I don't know. There was something about like the 80s. It was just seemed like the worst decade ever. And then I got a little smarter and realized there was all this cool underground shit. But when I finally got to this, decided to dabble, I think I almost started with Prince. And, this record just fucking blew me away. Like, it was so weird because I knew stuff like, When Doves Cry and stuff like that. I knew the tunes, or like Purple Rain, as like these corny kind of over the top things, but then they just like sucked me in completely. And I don't know, I've just been like in love with them ever since. What about you, Darin?
Yeah, I mean, I too have a pretty long personal history with Prince and Purple Rain, to be specific. I think, to me, as a kid, I think Prince, I sort of always considered him to be very similar to Michael Jackson in the sense of just knowing like the radio hits and stuff. Never really got into his albums until a little bit later, but when I did, I mean, Purple Rain was just like mind-blowing. I mean, there was really no other way, I guess, to describe it. And it still remains as something that is so uniquely Prince, or just him as an artist. Like, there's just no one has ever matched, or probably will ever come close to, kind of like what he accomplished with this record.
And we should mention that, maybe we mentioned it on the last time we talked about Prince, but me and you, Darin, we performed as Prince and the Revolution at our like high school. They do this blast from the past type of thing, and we played it. We properly played Purple Rain.
In fact, one of the like first posts on our Instagram at Metaphoric Music is you guys dressed up for that show. Yeah,
I really need to dig into the archives, maybe our own vault per se, and, and bring the video out. You can post it.
Oh yeah. All right, we'll repost those pictures. But yeah, we were in full get up, which we got entirely from thrift stores. So it was a good time.
Have either of you guys seen the movie?
I've seen it like on TV, like on VH1.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever like seen the whole thing at once though, but I've seen like most of it on VH1.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I was like trying to remember this week, like the movie, and I'm wondering like if I ever even saw the whole thing, because I feel like it was just on VH1 a lot, and I like would watch parts of it a lot, and I don't know, and that was still a long time ago, so I really don't remember it. Weren't you like a little more into it, Darin?
Yeah, I've actually seen the movie a couple of times. It's been a while, but I definitely remember thinking that Prince was like extremely short, which I mean it's obviously true, but he's like very short in the movie as well, because I think the girl that he's after is like either just as tall or maybe taller than him.
I take offense to this, by the
way. But his the stage performances are definitely like a fond memory. I mean, those are pretty cool for sure. His acting, though, I don't know. Leaves a little to be desired, I guess.
I just looked it up. I'm actually 2 inches taller than Prince. So.
Wow. You shouldn't have admitted that on air.
Yeah.
That's really
hey, anyone I can be taller than, I'll take it.
He's going to add that to his own little personal...
He's 2 inches taller than a man who has had more sex than any other human being on this.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There you go.
Not bad. Not bad. All right, should we start breaking it down?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's Go Crazy. Track 1. I guess we should try to describe the sound of this track.
It's hard to describe things like this. You know, we talked about it with Sgt. Pepper and OK Computer. These things that you just kind of assume everyone knows, right. And it's like so important that it's hard to pretend it doesn't exist to talk about it. But I think Let's Go Crazy in particular, that would always kind of like, it sounds like a concert or like a party to me. Like, yeah, I think maybe his like speech at the beginning, it's kind of, I've always like, I've never, you know, I don't remember the movie well, but I've always felt it feels like him coming out and like saying that, and then, you know, the band kicking up. But this one's like a real like party kind of track. I mean, you know, the title, Let's Go Crazy, I think it's a super fitting title.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the best intro songs probably ever.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
One of the things I love about this album is how, you know, tidy it just feels like, so well put together. You know, like this is like a great intro song. Like it wouldn't go well anywhere else on the album, you know, other than the very beginning. And it's just such a great way to like introduce you into this world. Like you're immediately sucked in, and he kind of like never lets go, you know, until the very end.
Yeah, I mean, I think like what makes it so amazing, right, is that sort of the story of the movie in a way, the story of Prince in real life at this time is that he's like got aspirations to be like a superstar. Like he's like this transcendent genius, but he's just not on top. And he's like fulfilling it. Like when you listen to this album, you're hearing him fulfill it like in real time. And you know, just the confidence of coming out with this song, right? Like coming out first with this song, it like just sounds like a superstar. Like he's just carrying himself that way. And, you know, it's wild that it starts off with like this weird eulogy or something like to life and da-da-da-da. But then, and that's just so Prince. But when it kicks off, I mean, I think that Prince was aware, Pitchfork's review goes into this a little bit, but like he was really aware of what was big at the time, which was stuff like Springsteen. You know, this record came out the same year as Springsteen's like Born in the USA and stuff like that. And it's almost like Prince was hesitant to do that, but was like, all right, you guys want some like fucking Springsteen-esque rockers? Like I can do that better. And it's got that classic, like almost Springsteen, like dun, 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 you know, like the way he kind of does his riffs. It always reminds me of. I mean, I just feel so much like this is genuine determination to take over the world and him accomplishing it. Like you get to hear that happen.
Yeah, it's almost hard to believe that, you know, you would describe Prince as like semi-obscure before this album, because
it's a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, it just sounds like he is already the biggest name in music when you come out with something like this. And it's just such a great like party song, you know? I mean, it really sets the mood. It sets the mood, I should say.
You guys agree with me about like the Springsteen comparison? I mean, I seriously feel like he was like looking around, like, what do I got to do to be a superstar right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. I never really thought of it myself. I'm not a huge Springsteen fan or anything, but yeah, I could see that. And I think you're right. You know, he wanted to take over, and the way to do that is do what other people are, the other people on top do what they're doing and then do it better.
Right. And he shreds on this fucking song.
Yeah, I think that's something, I think we've talked about this before, but that's something like people forget about Prince, is that like he is like the best guitar player ever. Like you don't think of that when you think of Prince. You don't think guitar. I don't think, but he'll surprise you.
Well, and I mean, I don't think he lets like the guitar like dominate any song really. It's kind of just whenever he feels like adding it in there, he does something incredible on it. And I would say that like with this remaster, my God, it sounds like so much better. Like
I know. I was thinking like if like a lot of people don't recognize how great of a guitar player Prince is because his records sound like so thin and shitty, but now that it's being remastered, it's like just the guitar is incredible. Like the crunch of the main riff of this song is awesome. And again, like I feel like he's just like, all right, you fuckers like Van Halen or whatever, I can do this way better. Like he's just owning this. He's owning the 80s. It's crazy.
Yeah, really.
All right. Should we, any other comments on Let's Go Crazy, or should we keep trudging along here?
No, we should probably keep trudging along, or we're going to be a 4-hour podcast.
All right, take me with you. How would we describe the sound of this one?
This one sounds, a lot more, I guess, like pop radio friendly, I guess.
Okay.
Definitely heavy with like the synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously like a real kind of like bubbly love song.
Yes.
It's obviously in the movie, it's used as like, I don't know, some sort of dating sequence, if I remember correctly.
Right.
It was one of my early favorites, actually.
Oh, was that?
I think I was just really attracted to it was like Prince's like perfect poppy love song, because a lot of his other songs he'll Pitchfork mentions that a lot of like contradictions and mixed emotions and different things. This one kind of just stays on the lighter, happier side, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you. This one kind of sounds like a radio hit. What was this one a hit even though?
I think most of the songs were pretty big hits. Actually,
I think you're right.
Huge.
Yeah, but it's got that kind of feeling with it. I love the and you can hear them way better in the in this remaster. Those like little finger symbols that like happen the whole time. That's it's like a neat little addition. Really, like the first time I listened to it, the remaster, I was like, what the fuck is that noise? I don't think I'd ever noticed that before.
Dan always noticing
those little autistic things.
I liked it though.
Yeah, no, it is great, but I don't know. I mean, it's a good example of like the weird psychedelia that runs through this whole record. And the coolest part about this song to me is like the acoustic guitar. So it's like this, lush, like synthy, like bouncy thing. But there's, kind of like I don't know. It just sounds like, who would ever think to put an acoustic guitar on a song like this?
Yeah.
And it's got like sort of a full, like sort of rich, deep, like chord sound to it. Like the chord he's playing it's not like just a power chord of C or whatever key the song is in. It's like this, like, I don't know, kind of moody chord, and then those little like finger picky parts, like it's like a weird twang. I mean, just combining like these lush synths with, and of course like Prince is like sort of in the background vocally here. It's
right.
Like more of Apollonia's song or whatever, but it sounds like sort of a bunch of girls. And the combination of like this weird folksy twangy acoustic guitar with like these lush synths and these like girl group vocals, I mean, it's so psychedelic. It would fit on Sgt. Pepper's or something.
Yeah, that one definitely has like the psychedelic tinge to it, which I think goes with your point of like you said earlier, Gabe, with Let's Go Crazy, like him just taking things and doing them much better than other people were doing them at the time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is also a testament to just Prince as an artist. Like, I'm sure that the Revolution contributed like ideas and thoughts, but to me, like this is, Prince as the architect, kind of putting all this together. And when you read things like he had like 100 songs or something prepared for Purple Rain, the fact that these 9, and I don't mean to talk about all the other songs, but like every song just seems like it was handled so preciously and so perfected,
I know.
With such perfection. You know what I mean? Like he really intended to let me like write the best, most perfect like pop record. Like there's no. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like he ever goes off the rails. Like everything is like perfectly thought out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. And it's like, but it's so weird because, you know, like on the previous song, Let's Go Crazy, it's like, you know, it's kind of a rocker, but it's done in like a very Prince way with like very like strange Prince aspects to it. So it's not just like a straight up Springsteen meets Van Halen thing, but you know, it's just awesome that he's like, I don't know, switching to like this weird psychedelic thing. I don't know, he's just like so into like arrangements. And so yeah, speaking of all that, you know, I guess we move on to the beautiful ones. I guess the reason we're going song by song kind of is because every song in here is so different from each other. I mean, to describe the sound of Purple Rain would be like as an album would be damn near impossible. In fact, Pitchfork's review makes some good comments about how like it doesn't even mix genres. It just like is a way, it doesn't have anything to do with genre. It's like free from any restraints of genre.
Well, I mean, it's almost like a genre in and of itself. I mean, right? Like, if I'm referencing Prince or like another artist sounds like Prince, I'm probably referencing Purple Rain in some way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like when I say like Let's Go Crazy sounds like these other artists, kind of like not really, just sounds like Prince doing that, but it sounds like it's not, or you couldn't classify it as like a Springsteen type rocker. You couldn't classify anything here very easily. So easier to take it song by song. And the beautiful ones. We talked about this before. The way we did the Prince tribute was we each picked like a favorite track, and this was Darin's favorite track. So we should go through it again. Maybe our feelings have changed in the last year, but you know, this is one of the songs along with Darling, Nikki, and When Doves Cry that Prince actually literally plays every single instrument on, which I didn't know before.
Wow,
that's pretty damn impressive.
I know.
He also did so live, right?
Yeah.
How do we describe the sound of this song?
So this one slows things down, tempo wise. You know, Prince gets even a little more, I guess, sensual than he does in the previous song. However, this one kind of gets a little bit darker, I guess, in some of its themes. You know, would you add anything to that, Dan?
No, I think that's a pretty good description. It really like builds up too. You know, it starts out real slow, and then the intensity just like, you know, builds and builds. And I feel like this is kind of your first like real. You're really getting into the album at this point, and this song is just. I mean, you know, they're all great on this record, but this one is just. A little extra great, especially I didn't know what you had just said either, Gabe, that he played everything on this one. But I think this song is, you know, we just talked about how you know, people sound like Prince and whatnot. This is a song like of Montreal. I think owes when Kevin stopped ripping off the Beatles, I think he started ripping off the Beautiful Ones. You know, there's so many like songs that he does like this exact same. Kind of build up and that like sing talk thing, you know, which Prince does in this one and does it fantastic.
Yeah, and Pitchfork's review makes a good point, right? So it's like this ballad, and then, you know, he sort of like explodes with like passion when he's talking about like, you know, do you want him or do you want me? 'Cause I want you thing. And you know, Pitchfork's review talks about like, again, with this whole theme of like, this is a guy who he literally decided to be a superstar. He's like, I'm tired of not being a superstar. I'll just do that today. And, you know, you can almost think of it as like him also screaming at just like popular culture or something like, do you want these other artists or do you want me or something like that? I mean, I don't think it's totally outside the realm of possibility that's also going on here, but I mean, God damn, if he doesn't sound like, I mean, it's crazy the way this thing builds from like a really moody kind of synthy lush ballad to like an explosion of feeling. I think,
and I think Prince's role in all of this, like vocally, is such a critical part of the song's success. Because I mean, honestly, some like the song, especially the ballad part in the beginning, sounds very 80s to me. You know, like that little ding 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 sounds like a very potentially like boring 80s song, but like Prince just like takes it in a totally unique direction to where no longer am I like feeling like I'm stuck in the 80s. You know, I'm taken far away into a different world. You know what I mean? Like most artists just don't do that. They play it safe. They stick to that ding, 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 and would probably like repeat it over and over again. And the song would end.
Right,
you know,
right.
like who would ever think that he would
know.
break it down and start screaming at you? You know, just really like kind of bearing all. And I don't know. The song still remains my favorite Prince track.
Yeah. Why? Just real quick before we move on, why is nothing that Prince does corny? It doesn't feel like a lot of what he does should be corny.
It should be.
Absolutely should.
I think it's because he just sells it so well. Like if you just believe, you know, like you know how, like some people can wear like a silly outfit and like, hey, you know, they just own it and it works. That's like Prince's entire life. Like Prince, he is like a silly outfit, but I mean, he just, especially, I mean, we talked about he's like this tiny little guy and stuff. Like it would be very easy for him to just end up in the, you know, what is this character doing? But I mean, you just believe him. You believe that what he's doing is the coolest shit that's ever happened. And
I know,
you know,
and I think that's part of the reason why, you know, like Dave Chappelle's like skit on Prince is so funny, because you have this like in the back of your mind, you're just like, this is such a perfect, you know, impression of Prince, because you really think that's how Prince really would be. Yeah, he would be like serving pancakes after a basketball match, you know, at his house. Like that's makes perfect sense in Prince's world.
Oh my God. All right. We'll move on. Track 4, Computer Blue, which is like a real fan favorite. And in fact, a little bit of history about it that I was reading is, you know, it was actually like a 14-minute thing, like this massive suite. And that's been like bootlegged, but in poor quality for a long time. But it's like this legendary fan thing. And for this release, one of the bonus tracks is like the first official release of, for some reason, not the 14-minute, but like one edit after that where he brought it down to like 12, which I guess is disappointing to some people. He then brought it down to 7 minutes and then decided at the last minute to add Take Me With You to the album, which was originally going to be for like that Apollonia 6 project. And when he added that, it like made the two sides like have awkward length. So he cut it down to 4 minutes. So we have a 14-minute like magnum opus that is like a fan favorite cut down to 4. Why is it still so fucking awesome?
Yeah, it's like, it's nuts. It really shouldn't be, you know, because listening to the deluxe side of this album was the first time I had ever heard the like longer, you know, 12-minute version or whatever, and it's like still really good. You know, like you feel like either only the 4-minute version is going to be good, or the 4-minute version is going to sound like you know, a crappy chopped up version of the, you know, 14 or whatever. But it's like it works. I think it works better on the album being 4 minutes, but you know, the 12 minutes still good. I don't know. Prince just could pull any goddamn thing off.
I mean, I feel like you can, after hearing the 12-minute, I can like really tell in the 4-minute like where he made the cuts.
Right.
Yeah, it's very, very obvious now. But I mean, I think that it's cool. It's definitely cool. Don't get me wrong, but it just would never have worked, even if we were in the digital age and sides of a vinyl record didn't matter.
Right.
Because like Purple Rain to me is just so focused and so. Yeah, I mean, every single song is like. Seems like it's a single, you know what I mean? So for it to have kind of it doesn't drag necessarily, but it goes on and on and on and on, you know what I mean? Into that whole story thing that he gets into towards the end of it. It just wouldn't have fit. It would have kind of like killed the flow, I think.
Yeah, it would have taken some of the thunder away from the last track. I won't spoil what that last song is. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, that one needs to be the long one.
Yeah, it would just be. It would really kill the flow 3 tracks in to stick a 12-minute or 14-minute long song here. And really, thinking about, you know, a vinyl record, it really wouldn't even fit well. You know, you can't get...
Right.
You should stick around 22-ish minutes to a side, and that'd be kind of difficult to do with a 14 right there.
Yeah, well, theoretically, I guess "Take Me With You" would have been gone, but God, I was reading. You know, he had a couple different track lists for this record, and like, I just feel like we like averted disaster. Like, it ended up being perfect. I'm like so relieved that nothing is different. But on that topic, Computer Blue is a good example of how I swear to God, every second of this record is perfect. Like you said, Darin, he cut, just the perfect amount of things out, and everything is just like so carefully crafted. Like the little, sort of the outro, but it's really kind of like the bridge part of the song, And in fact, on the bonus disc, we get Father's Song. He actually co-wrote that part with his dad, but it's like a piano ballad version. He was like, this is a beautiful piano ballad. I'm going to turn it into like some like music out of Sonic the Hedgehog right now. And, it's like, it's so fucking good, that part. And it just feels like an afterthought. You know what I mean? I know it definitely wasn't, because the song was actually so long. But I guess then it's just one small part of a 14-minute thing. But the fact that like just that little bridge that lasts for like 30 seconds is that amazing. I can't even understand it.
Yeah. I was going to ask you guys, like, what part of Computer Blue is your favorite? Because it feels like maybe 3, miniature songs in one.
Yeah,
I would say, and I think the outro may be my favorite. Like, I just love. I love to. I start Computer Blue like anticipating that incredible outro.
I know.
Yeah,
it's fucking amazing. And then when the guitars start harmonizing at the end of that part, like, I can't fucking take it.
Which was like, I guess in the extended one, there was the solo was just like doubled or something, right? Because when I first heard it, I was like, wait, where's the harmonizing guitar?
Right,
but it comes in like a little bit later. Thank you, Prince, for cutting that part.
All right. We should move on to Darling Nikki. This is a big song. I looked up a lot of background information about all the different songs, so I'll share a little trivia. Apparently, this was the song that Tipper Gore, she found her daughter singing along to this. Of course, it talks about masturbation and stuff. Yeah, she was so mortified, she started the campaign to get parental advisory stickers put on albums.
BNRs.
So thanks a lot, Prince.
Yep.
And so... yeah, this is the dirty one on the album. Can we describe the sound of the song?
Yeah, it's the dirty one. This is the song that always makes me like wonder why Prince actually is so famous. Like it's like somebody singing songs like this, shouldn't be somebody that's so ubiquitous that like our grandmas know who Prince is,
I know.
And that's always like so weird to me but I guess he just had like the complete charisma to sell it and do it, like we talked about on the rest of the record.
Yeah, to me, this is the song that sort of allows Prince to sort of transcend like sexuality, to just be beyond masculine or feminine. Like he's just Prince, you know what I mean? Like, and this is, if anyone ever had a question about that, like I would say, listen to this song and this is Prince right here. Like this is Prince 100%, and in the movie, this is probably one of the coolest performances. When is it Apollonia, I guess, in the movie too? Yeah. So she's done some stuff or whatever. And she shows up at one of his shows and he's performing the song and he just goes nuts on stage, which I imagine that's probably what it would be like to see him live. I mean, he's like humping and it's just all over the place. It's great. It's fantastic.
This is a very sexy fucking song. And we get the like infamous double bass part again. This is one of the songs that Prince plays every instrument on, so he's fucking killing it.
Oh really?
Double bass.
That's him playing the drums.
Metalheads, how it's done.
It is.
God, yeah, that's awesome. I was gonna say the drums on this song are like super rad, and
I know,
and so much so in this new remaster, like you can really, especially that double bass part, you can like actually hear it. It sounds like a well tuned, nice drum. But yeah, man, I didn't know that was Prince playing that. That's impressive.
I know, and I don't know, when the double bass starts coming in, for some reason, it sounds like the audio equivalent of like strobe lights going off. I just can't listen to this without thinking of like that's where strobe lights hit, and it's like so fucking perfect. Okay, a big one. When Doves Cry. This was like Prince's first #1 single. This would have came out. It was the first single from the record, and so it would have been like literally the moment that everybody realized Prince was a god. How do we describe the sound of this iconic song?
It's very bassy.
So much bass.
God, before I describe the song, I do want to say like this was like the first Prince song I ever remember hearing, and also seeing a video of him like in the bathtub and everything, and him crawling across the floor. Like I will never forget. Like it's kind of just always, and it's a cool video, you know. And I just remember, I don't remember how old I was or why I was watching it, but just being kind of like blown away, even as a kid, just being not changing the channel, obviously, like kids would do.
Yeah,
and that's again a testament to Prince's power. As far as the sound, I mean, it's actually like a very just very drum heavy song, I would say.
Very minimal.
Yeah. So compared to the rest of the album, it's like very interesting how this has very little going on in it. And I've never really paid attention to just how much the drums just kind of drive the entire song, you know?
Yeah, this song, you say it's the first big selling single from Prince, and it sounds like it. This is like, I think this is what people think of when you think of Prince. Like it's this ballady kind of thing that's kind of ridiculous. Like when doves cry, like who thinks of I know. Of such a statement? But
this would be a cheesy. This should be cheesy.
It should be
right?
cheesy. Yeah, but when doves cry is just such a like Prince sentence, like exactly like Darin said, like if anyone except for Prince made a song called When Doves Cry, we would be making fun of it right now.
And it should be very corny, to just have this whole like a dance thing where the singer is just sort of like, maybe I'm too much like my father. Maybe you're too much like my mom. It's the shittiest, corniest thing ever.
And to describe like yelling and fighting as, the sound of doves crying. Like,
I know. It's unbelievable. But it like works. It's literally firing on all cylinders. And also, I had like a really personal moment with this because like I sort of knew the song, but when I first listened to this record, like I told you, I was really angry at 80s music, and I was specifically mad about how shitty it sounded. I was like, why does every 80s record sound so bad? Why do they want it to sound like that? Who wants to listen to music with no bass? And then I get to this song, and I'm like, Prince literally didn't put bass in this song. What a fucking asshole. Literally no bass.
Decision. He's just like, no, doesn't need any bass.
Nope,
like, who would ever think
bass?
that?
This is the 80s, baby. We don't need bass. And like, I don't know. It's unbelievable. He wrote a bass line or whatever and just decided it was cooler without it. And it's awesome because it's so minimal that like when finally, because everything's like percussive, and then when finally like that, synth line comes in,
right,
as the song is building, and his vocals start going crazy, which is like my favorite Prince thing ever. It has so much power because it's been so minimal. So then just that single synth line coming in sounds like the biggest crescendo. And again, another example of how every second of this record is just perfect. Like, it sounds like he's just sort of ad-libbing the shit at the end, but it's iconic anyway. Like the and then like the string stuff, like every second of that like long outro is still iconic, even though it just sounds like off the cuff for some reason.
Right. And I don't like the radio mix because it like, cuts out.
Oh my god,
a lot of that ending. But another thing I wanted to mention, like the backing vocals that he does himself for the first part of the song, so perfect. I mean, just one of my favorite things about this song in this album, and like the decision to not include his female vocalists who are in the band. I know. Just how could he have known that it was just the right decision? It's it's crazy.
On this remaster, if you listen real closely, it's amazing. Like I'm hearing extra Princes that I never noticed. Some of them are fucking hilarious. It's like the way left, like way in the background, and you could just hear him like fucking like squealing and stuff. Like it's so good.
Yeah, this remaster is like something you should take the time and find your nicest pair of headphones and listen to the whole thing and just not do anything else. Just pay attention and find those little extra Princes throughout.
Like a treat. All right, I would die for you, literal you there, and a literal for. How would we describe the sound of this one?
So. I think this one kind of goes back to a very, very synth-heavy electronic kind of sound. To me, the next two songs here almost serve as just like an introduction into the final song.
Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, they not that should take anything away from them as individual songs, but to me, like
it's building to it.
Exactly. When I get to this point, the album's like, all right, I am like ready to get to Purple Rain, and these two songs sort of seem to lead up to that.
Yeah, well, a little trivia, actually. All three of these last songs were recorded live. And then, of course, Prince did like extensive overdubbing. Live at like a single concert in Minneapolis, of course. And it was actually Wendy's first show with the band. She was 19.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Now, does a live, do like recordings of that actually exist? Like, can somebody get
I don't
those?
know. I don't think so. But, it, like everybody who's in the band says it was like the greatest show they ever played, and I believe them.
Yeah, that sounds great. I don't remember which of these like three songs, but some of them have like clapping, and I always just thought that was added in.
It's "Baby I'm a Star."
Is it? Okay, yeah. I always
Also, the very end of Purple Rain.
Yeah. I always thought that was just added in from the movie. Yeah, I didn't realize it was actually live. That's cool.
Yeah. So I Would Die for You. Like you said, it gets like really lush again, which is awesome because we've just gone super minimal with When Doves Cry, and then like just the way this song starts, is like the lushest intro possible, and then it's just like that awesome. I don't know, like that synth sound, like with like the hi-hats, like the electronic hi-hats, like like really fast, and then the drums are like really slow. Actually, it's just like boom, boom, like it creates like all this space in the arrangement that is just awesome. But then it's got like, I don't know, it's just like the most. It's like a I don't know. It's again a really should be cheesy song, and especially like just the way it's delivered. It's like this. You feel like, I don't know. Could you dance to this?
Yeah,
you could. Dance to this.
I think so. I think you can probably dance to every Prince song. I think that's a prerequisite.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. It feels like it's in slow motion. This song, just the way it's like, like I don't know. It trips me out. But I love the arrangement on this. But I guess you're right. It flows almost directly or literally directly into Baby I'm a Star. So I guess we can do the same here. Baby I'm a Star. How do we feel about this?
Well, I mean, I think the title, like we've talked about, like this is Prince deciding that he's a star, and he's saying it here as directly as possible. I think this is him coming out and saying I'm the the biggest thing right now, fuck Michael Jackson and all that.
Yeah, I think this song kind of like almost is like a reprise of Let's Go Crazy. Like it calls back to that introduction, and I think it's the perfect setup for the dramatic conclusion. But because we go through all these like very personal like relationship kind of songs and everything, and then we get here and it's just a declaration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, he's basically it blows my mind because he's basically like, proclaiming, like you said, I am a superstar now. I just did it. You just heard it in those songs. And we haven't even gotten to Purple Rain yet. Yeah. And he's right.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still right that he's the greatest ever already, and we're not at Purple Rain. I just can't get over that. But you're right. It's like a rocker. It is a great like hook. Yeah, it just has that quality of like almost like a victory lap to it, which is awesome because that means he decided he had conquered the world on like track 7. 8 is the victory lap, and then 9 is like the I'm even better than
just
that.
Like cementing it in there.
Yeah. But it has that quality to it, and it's it's just fantastic fun. It adds a beautiful symmetry to the record, kind of playing off of Let's Go Crazy, but then flows perfectly into Purple Rain, the big one. So where the hell do we start with this?
Yeah, I mean this is a song that just if the previous 8 tracks didn't show you how great Prince was, this one will. I mean, it's just like it's how long is the song? Like 8.5 minutes, and it just like builds and builds and builds, and it's just like I mean it's just so perfect. It's really just hard to even explain. I mean, if you're listening to this and you've never heard the song Purple Rain, go ahead and pause it and listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, I would almost, even though I mentioned that The Beautiful One's my personal favorite, the title track here, Purple Rain, is worth the price of admission. Like if you don't hear anything else by Prince, like this is the one song you should hear. And actually, I would put this song up against Hey Jude from the Beatles, the reason why I do that is, you guys remember when Prince played at the Super Bowl, however long ago it was. Purple Rain was like probably the shining moment. The entire stadium singing it along with him.
It literally rained.
Yes. Yeah, literally rained. I mean, this song it's powerful, you know?
I know. Like, brings a whole world together. I mean, It's a great song. It's like genuinely moving when it has no business being, just like all these other potentially corny songs. I mean, this is like genuinely so moving. And like, you know, I feel like I knew this song from like parodies of it or something before I actually heard it. And then when I actually heard it, I was like, you know, I feel like weeping or something. It's so real. But yeah, it's got it's this incredible arrangement where like, it's just like these again with like the real psychedelics of this, and just, you know, obviously like the phrase "Purple Rain" brings like sort of a psychedelic thing to your mind, but just like the, you know, like woozy guitars and just like the emptiness of the drum beat and everything, it's like incredible. And then we keep going, and again with this thing, it just blows me away every time, where like there's not a wasted second on this record, not even on this 8.5 minute song,
right,
where like every part is perfect and iconic. Like the, like, you know, the guitar, like, you know, that's iconic. And then we get to like the like, that's iconic.
Yes.
The string outro is iconic. Like there's not a second wasted, and it's like almost 9 perfect minutes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the kind of song where you get lost in it and you don't realize it's been 8.5 minutes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's a song that you can, I'm sure all three of us could just, you know, recall from memory, like very easily, the entire song.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
How many?
It's one of those things, like, if you can just think about it and you could play the whole song in your head, like, perfectly.
I always think about, have you seen that meme that's like, if somebody holds a gun to your head and they say you have to recite all the lyrics of a song, and if you mess up at all, they'll shoot you?
Yeah.
I always think, like, I just do Purple Rain. It'd be so funny.
Okay.
I do all the squeals and shit.
I think you pick a 9-minute song for that situation. That's ballsy. It's ballsy. I like that.
Real smart.
Yeah, I know.
Hold on. There's a guitar solo before the hoo-hoo part. Just give me.
I'm gonna be doing the air guitar until we get there for sure. But okay, so in the time that we've been talking about this, I guess you basically could have listened to the album yourself. But final thoughts about the whole record? You know, any final thoughts?
I mean, it's just again, it's weird. The past 3 weeks, you know, we've talked about 3 of these,
I know,
perfect records that are just
juggernauts.
You know, juggernauts of their era. You know, I mean, Sgt. Pepper, the '60s, OK Computer, the '90s, and I mean, I think this is the big one of the '80s.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not much else to be said. I mean, this. It's such a perfect album. It's an album that I could revisit at any time. The remaster is by far the most definitive version. Like,
yes.
You should never listen to anything else. I guess I would say, before we get into, I guess, a little bit of bonus stuff, like, you know, the Pitchfork review did mention like that Purple Rain was also recorded live. You mentioned that too, Gabe, and that it was actually originally 12 minutes. Like,
right.
God, I am a little bit curious to know what some of that sounds like. Do you guys think that it would like change your thoughts on how the album is, or just make you appreciate what we do have?
Yeah, I don't think it would like change my opinion. It's neat to hear. I like to hear, you know, people's like processes. Like I really love those, you know, Bob Dylan things they've been doing where they just released every single thing that he recorded, you know, for an album.
Right.
It's just really cool to hear. Especially somebody that's like such a genius like Prince or Dylan, like you know, how did you decide from those 12 minutes what, you know, what 3 minutes needed to go, you know, 3.5 minutes needed to go, you know? That's just super interesting to me.
Yeah, this one sounds a lot less like edited than, I guess, like Computer Blue, you know what I mean? Like I could,
it's harder to
think of any point where you would change.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. What I suspect is that they just let like the feedback drag on for an extra like 4 or 5 minutes, because you can hear like the piano kind of like disappear, like it's fading out or something. But you know, it's that really leads us nicely into the bonus tracks, which are like both fascinating and frustrating, because it's clear that there is so much more, you know, out there in the vaults. Stuff like that 12-minute edit exists, the 14-minute full version of Computer Blue. You know, if anybody really needs to hear that, you know, the whole live show, maybe. of I'm assuming that those 3 tracks were recorded at. He was basically recording constantly. So is it greedy to be like, we got a whole disc of unreleased Prince stuff? Am I being greedy to say, like, why isn't there more?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like I said, the whole thing that Dylan's been doing the past 10 or so years, I hope they do that with Prince. Part of me is a little, because he's like dead, so it wasn't like his decision. But, he's dead. Fuck it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's greedy at all. I think, unfortunately, it's probably going to be a situation where they're just going to slowly piecemeal it out to us so that they can maximize profits on it, which is a real shame.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like because they did this remaster in 2015, and then I genuinely feel like when Prince died, like Purple Rain was like one of the highest selling albums of 2016, and I genuinely feel like they were just waiting for that to kind of
let everyone buy
chill out a little bit,
and then buy it again,
and then remaster. Yes. So they are going to just milk us. We're going to be like 60 when we hear that.
Well, it's too bad that this came out in the 80s, because one of the reasons they are doing those Dylan things is like copyright law. If you don't like use something within whatever 50, 60 years or whatever, then, the copyright runs out. So they have to release it to hold on to those copyrights. But, this came out in the 80s, so we have, many, many more years before they like have to do something with that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, I wish they would just do those kind of sets, just come out and release a, 20 disc everything that he recorded during.
I know. And even if you're not gonna, please just hurry up and do the album. Like, don't make me wait till like next year to hear Sign of the Times.
I know. Just release it.
3 years from now we hear 1999. I want you to remaster everything for the love of God. I know
that was a great thing that the Beatles did when they finally did the last year.
All of it.
Yeah, they all came out on the same day. And I get, Prince has a lot more albums than the Beatles and stuff, but at least, release Purple Rain, this month.
Chunks of them.
Yeah, and then, 3-4 months later, Sign of the Times, Dirty Mind, stuff. Like, don't just sit on it. But I know they're going to, and that's going to suck.
I know. All right, maybe we shouldn't be complaining so much, because there is some absolute fire on this unreleased disc. I really believe that. So the third disc is the singles, and I didn't know the song Erotic City, which was, I guess, a minor hit, but it's a B-side of Let's Go Crazy, I think. And that is a fire song. But as far as the unreleased stuff goes, I mean, Pitchfork's review even says this, and I just kind of felt it the first time I heard it. Like, We Can Fuck, the song, is unbelievably good.
Yeah, it is. And again, what a Prince title. We Can Fuck. I just wonder, if that song had been released in 1985, how many more people would exist in the world today?
It's a fact. It has to be a fact.
Prince saved us from overpopulation by holding on to the real.
Yeah.
Do you have any like favorites on this disc, Darin?
Yeah, the one you just mentioned was good. Wonderful Ass is fun.
Oh, yeah.
Another
I like
Prince
Love and
title.
Sex, Yeah.
Love and Sex is awesome.
Yeah.
Love and Sex is like a great rocker.
Mm-hmm. All of these are good, but they all obviously pale in comparison. Kind of similar to like when we were talking about OK Computer. Like, it was very, very clear that these songs just could not have fit on the album.
I agree with that, but like they wouldn't fit, but I think they are like excellent. Like, I think they're
maybe they're certainly worthy. They're worthy of being on their own album of sorts.
They could have been like on a different album. Like the next album could have just been made up of these things. Yeah.
In fact, disc 2 plays almost like a record in a weird way.
Yeah.
The way it closes with Father's Song. This kind of like emotional piano thing. I mean, it almost like moves in a very listenable way, and I plan on just like listening to this and crying while I wait for these vaults to open the fuck up, like, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It plays pretty well like a record. I mean, I hope if Prince didn't set up the sequencing himself, as long as like whoever is taking care of it, I hope they at least put in the care with the sequencing and everything that it seems they did with this one. Unless maybe they just got lucky, but
yeah. So, any other thoughts, or should we move on?
Yeah, one we're forgetting on the B-side spot. Another Lonely Christmas. Is that not the saddest song ever? That song, you know, put Mount Erie to shame, I think.
Yeah, it makes the Mount Erie dude look like a little bitch.
Oh my god!
No, I'm not kidding. I'm kidding.
Send your hate mail to Gabe.
We get so much hate.
Metaphoricmusic@gmail.com.
No, it's great. I mean, it's great. There are a lot of really great gems here, but again, you could have listened to this whole thing in the time we've been talking about it. So should we move on?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Yeah.